Sorry, guys. I didn't bring a sword.
Bruh.
Hello everyone, it's Sean O'Connell, the managing editor here at Cinema Blend, back for another weekly Snyder Cut conversation as we continue to work our way through each of the members of the Justice League and break down how different they will be from the theatrical cut to Zack Snyder's Justice League. And I have to bring along with me Hannah Solik, who has been soldiering through all of these comparisons. Hi Hannah, how are you?
I'm good. Sean, do you smell that?
Do I smell what, Hannah?
Not, because we're not going to have a terrible, jokey Batman, and I'm very excited to talk about it.
Yeah, poor Ben was really cut off at the knees in terms of how he was treated. We can really point at Ben Affleck's Batman and say, not only did you get hurt by this film, but the films that you wanted to make going forward got decimated.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
We are clinging to the hope that bringing Zack Snyder's Justice League back to HBO Max restores the Snyderverse and maybe gives Ben a chance to continue in the old man, grizzled Batman that we met in BVS. So we'll see how that plays out.
Fingers crossed.
Yes.
All right, so let's go ahead and just dive right into what was problematic about Batman / Bruce Wayne's portrayal in Justice League. So, Sean, would you like to start?
Where do you begin? Okay, so this goes back around to something we've been pointing out about each of the characters, which is that when you take the 4 hours of the complete vision of what Zack was trying to do and you cut it down to 2 hours, it's going to hurry along everyone's story arc. And for Bruce in this movie, his motivation is building the team. His motivation is in realizing the mistake that he made in BVS by not fully trusting in Superman and then having to live up to the legacy of what Superman left behind, and then potentially as the movie goes on, restore Superman to his position of power in the Justice League. So Bruce has a lot emotionally going on. And all of that gets...
I was going to say, but you wouldn't know it.
No, you certainly wouldn't watching the version of theatrical cut, because they sacrifice just about all of that for quips.
Steve Trevor tell you that?
And Batman is not quippy.
That's the opposite of what the saying is.
Zack did say to us on the set of Justice League that Batman can be funny. Like, there's an element or a way to approach his humor, but he's supposed to be the straight man. He's supposed to be responding to other people who are funny, like Flash or Aquaman, and being funny in the fact, but like you almost laugh because he's so not funny, like he's so uber serious, which leads to the joke in the Lego Movie about, like, you know, everything being so dark and somber, and
Yes.
and I think you still have to maintain that element of the character. I think it's really bad if you go too far in the other direction.
Yes, because they did say that, like, it was always intentional, even when Zack was working on the project, that they wanted Justice League to have a lighter tone than BVS. So Batman was always going to be maybe a little bit lighter, but that doesn't mean he was not going to be dark.
No, 100%. And he knows who he is in that universe as well, too. So the line that I'm pretty sure is still going to be held is when Flash says,
What are your superpowers again?
I'm rich.
that's a Batman joke.
It's that kind of like dry, witty, like not necessarily sarcasm, but it's just like, it's subtle, unlike all of his jokes in Justice League.
Well, and the problem with the jokes in Justice League 2, in the theatrical cut, we'll call it Justice League, I'm sorry, is that you can tell so desperately that they were recorded elsewhere and punched in. The cutaway at the end of the Monument Park fight where he's laying on what looks to be artificial astroturf. It doesn't look anything like the grass that's part of the scene that they were on, and he's just like,
Yeah. Oh, something is definitely bleeding.
horrendous. The really, first off, I think my least favorite line in the entire thing was when Superman at the end of the movie says, like,
Well, I knew you didn't bring me back because you like me.
and then Bruce is like,
I don't.
what is not even, I don't even understand that answer. And then of course the scene that is the most cringy, this is without a doubt the most cringy scene in theatrical cut, which is when Superman returns. They pan to all the faces of the Justice League members, and Batman, like, smiles, like he's like he's just happy. It's like, what? No, it's the worst portrayal of character.
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
Oh, it's awful.
Yeah.
It's so awful.
I feel like half of Batman's responsibility in the final act was just like gasping or like reacting.
Right. There's so many badass moments from Zack's early trailers.
My turn.
Come together.
And instead, in theatrical cut, he tumbles into it and he's climbing up the wall, and then they make him punch in and give another line reading where he's like,
Sorry, guys. I didn't bring a sword.
no, but it's cool.
Or he
when
looks
he's
at
like,
Steppenwolf and he's like,
Jesus. He is tall.
oh god, it's so bad. All of those things are bad.
Yeah.
And you know that they were just things that Joss essentially was brought in to do, which is bring humor or levity, and these are things that he was able to do in Avengers, but I don't think that those additions or the humor in the Avengers betrayed those characters. Tony was relatively funny. Even Thor was funny in the realm of Asgard. So when you gave them jokes, it wasn't out of place.
yeah, and to that point, like they let Captain America kind of be like that straight, he doesn't understand anything that's going on, and that's
Right.
funny in and of itself.
I understood that reference.
So it's like what you were talking about earlier, like I don't understand why he didn't just leave Batman alone.
Right. No, I know. But I think that the Batman has to carry the bulk of the film. The film is really told through his point of view as he's going on this arc in order to recruit the League. They kind of give him that assignment at the end of BVS where he's like, we're going to need more people. There's a bigger threat coming. He meets Lex Luthor, and Luthor tells him,
The bell's already been rung.
and so Batman knows he needs to be prepared. And that is a defining characteristic of Batman, is that he is over-prepared for any type of threat that may come. And so you can understand why that would drive him to have to put this team together. But I want to see the full-blown interactions between him trying to recruit Ezra Miller's Barry Allen. I want to see him go and go toe-to-toe with Aquaman, and not in the, hacked up version that we see in theatrical cut.
Oh, that shithole.
I want to see a little less of his really intense flirtationship with Diana Prince. I'll just say that. I think Joss leaned way too heavily into that in theatrical cut. And
Yeah.
a second note, anything that Bruce Wayne does in that movie is not how Bruce Wayne would flirt. Like, that
Very
just doesn't
true.
make sense.
No, watch the scene where they flirt with each other in BVS when they're at that cocktail party and they're talking about the sword and who it belongs to. Like, that's smoldering. And that's, you're right, that's what Bruce Wayne would do.
Yeah, it's
would
not.
Steve Trevor tell you to do that?
Oh my God. I can't even think of what else he does, but I know it's cringy.
Oh, it's gross. There's a scene where he's like taking off his costume later on in the thing because he's been injured, and it's late in the film. I think it's after the Monument Park fight where they're it gets a little too uncomfortable. Like, that's not the relationship between Batman and Wonder Woman at all. It's just somebody who doesn't understand the dynamic of the team.
I'm only interested in her skill set.
I'm sure you are.
Can we?
Okay, so another way that we know that Batman will be changed in Zack Snyder's Justice League is that his arc is going to be restored.
Probably more even fully restored than we anticipated based on what was going to be coming in the Justice League that was coming in 2017 because of this additional photography. There's really great, interesting backstory that Zack has hinted at in his films, and I think he's going to try to work some of that in to what we see now in the HBO Max version, specifically with this additional photography, including Jared Leto's Joker. And so this has led to some rampant speculation about how much we might see in terms of, in BVS, we know that Batman lost a Robin. We see a Robin suit. It's got Joker scrawl on it. There was a theory that was running around recently that said that Joker may have, I think we know that he beats that Robin to death based on comic accuracy. And there was a hint that he could have possibly burned him and maybe created a fire, which is why the Wayne Manor looks like it has been burned now from the inside, that this might be part of that confrontation. I can't confirm that, but this is what some people have been discussing, and they do have to somewhat address why Bruce has moved to the lake house and doesn't use Wayne Manor. Now, it's possible that he just sort of let it fade from his years fighting crime in Gotham. But that would be a pretty significant turn of character, to move him and Alfred out to that otherwise gorgeous lake house and let his family go to rot, unless something really, truly horrible had happened in that house. And the death of a Robin could absolutely be that. So the fact that Zack is bringing back Joker means that we could get a lot more backstory for Batman, which I think is going to fill in. That's the benefit of starting with a much older Batman, is that he has years and years of experience that you can lean on. And instead, in theatrical cut, you get a horrible, like...
One misses the days when one's biggest concerns were exploding wind-up penguins.
A simple life.
Right. Yeah.
Just really bad stuff. And so to that end, too, I think you're going to get a lot more with Alfred. And those conversations, I love Jeremy Irons as Alfred. I really do. And I think he was a great contribution to Ben in BVS. And I think that their dynamic is going to be further explored in Zack Snyder's Justice League. Because you could tell that all of the conversations between Bruce and Alfred in theatrical cut in Justice League were definite reshoots. And I know that Zack knows a better way to treat Alfred. So I think his arc will continue that way, too.
Yeah, and in a lot of the early trailers, there's a lot of like lines from Bruce Wayne about, like...
I think it's something more. Something darker.
When he's staring at like the holographic Superman or whatever, and it's like you'd think he'd kind of lean on Alfred a little bit more to kind of have some of those deeper, darker discussions about what he's kind of feeling and going through, and we didn't get to see any of that.
and it's true, like all of his conversations with Alfred and BVS are the ones that drove him forward to not trust Superman.
We have to destroy him.
But he is not our enemy.
Not today. 20 years in Gotham, Alfred. We've seen what promises are worth.
To that end, I think Bruce is going to be the most fascinating character, and we've touched on this leading up to the other characters. When they have the discussion about whether or not it's a good idea to bring Superman back. And I think Bruce's motivations and Bruce's explanations as to why he needs to do that can be really compelling in the
not
hands
just
of Ben
Diana
Affleck.
going,
why? Because of your guilt?
Exactly. And so that's material that I can't wait to see Ben Affleck explore. Also, like you talked about, the final confrontation, it's an opportunity to see Batman in his element. He's going to be using all of his tools, and you're going to be able to see him taking down parademons and contributing to the final confrontation against Steppenwolf. But there's still the aspect of he's a man, in a situation where it's huge demons and gods from, underneath the sea and Wonder Woman herself. He's still he's not outmatched, but he still has to be wrestling with this. He's
got his limitations.
Yeah, for sure. And he's got to be wrestling with this. There's a lot going on here that I've never seen before. The introduction of an alien character in BVS in Superman rocked Batman's world. Mm-hmm. And now we're getting to a point where he's seeing this whole array of new people. And I kind of want to see how Zack treats that material, because I think you can take it seriously and have it really resonate.
And not have parademons smell fear. And that's Batman's contribution.
What do you want from me? Fear.
That whole sequence is so painful. The lines that actor, the guy from Mindhunter, has to give, where he's like...
Because they know he's dead, right?
Superman.
Like, hello, criminal? I didn't realize you were contributing to the narrative here.
Oh, okay.
Oh, even you figured this out, criminal?
He's
That's
paying
really
more attention than Aquaman. Great.
Yes, true. So there's so many scenes that I just know, like, the first confrontation between Batman and Arthur Curry is going to be amazing. Like, that's going to be so epic and not played for laughs. Like, you know how badly it is when they pan over to the wall and you see the sketch artwork of the mother boxes in Arthur in the tavern? Like, it's just awkward. Like, that's not how it's going to get handled. So
that was bad. So let's talk about, I have a question.
Yes.
So I've read that but people think that a nightmare scene is potentially going to open
yes.
Zack Snyder's cut. And some people are saying that because Batman's opening scene obviously was a reshoot with the Mindhunter guy, I'm so sorry, I do not know his name. And we know that basically that scene was there to set up Batman knowing that parademons don't like noise and they can smell fear, which is why he uses sound waves in the third act and all that.
Right,
so
right.
A lot of people are speculating that something could happen in the nightmare scene that would then impact how he could help in the third act. And I didn't know if you had any thoughts on that.
Well, I've heard a couple different theories. I don't think it's going to open with a nightmare, because I think it's going to open with the death of Superman, shown from the perspectives of Batman and Lois Lane. There could be a nightmare sequence shortly after that, but there's two things I've heard about the nightmare sequences. One is that Cyborg is going to have some sort of look into a nightmare sequence, and it will come when he's interacting with the mother boxes, because the mother boxes essentially helped create him. Now, I don't know if that is going to be in the middle of the film at one point when Victor Stone interacts with the mother box, or if it's going to occur later, like in the third act during the final battle, where he's maybe potentially trying to pull the mother boxes apart and he gets a view into the nightmare sequence at that point. the other rumor that's going around in terms of the nightmare sequence is that if it continues on in the one that we got to see in BVS, that there's an element that might have Joker and Deathstroke fighting alongside Batman in the nightmare sequence, because it will essentially have gotten to the point where Earth is so overrun and its dark side is so powerful and it's such a disaster for everybody on the planet that anyone who's alive is just banding together to fight. And they have a conversation about like, well, how come Joker isn't affected by the anti-life equation, which is the thing that turns Superman dark? And Batman has a line that says something like he's just such a lunatic that it doesn't affect him because his brain is broken. I don't know if that is fan speculation or if that's legitimately somebody knows something that's happening, but it goes a long way to the fact that Batman had that Joker card on him in the first BVS, and that as part of the trailer we saw at DC Fandom, a very obvious Joker card floats up to the front. So, yeah, I don't know. That's
main takeaway. We know that the nightmare sequence will be a major plot point, which
100%,
and it didn't even exist.
And it would be cool if there are two of them. It'd be cool if there is one early on and it involves Batman, and then later Cyborg sees another one. Because again, we're talking about a story where Zack was laying the groundwork for Darkseid coming to Earth, and on this most recent stream that the League of Mayhem had, where Zack was a guest for 2 hours, he's talking about the fact that he has the plot in his mind of where the Justice League sequel will go, and it involves Darkseid coming to Earth. Now, he didn't confirm whether he's going to be able to actually do this, but he knows where the story is supposed to go, and this 4-hour cut is supposed to lay out the groundwork for that to happen. I think the nightmare sequence is fascinating because it shows it shows the direction of where the story is going to go. It's hard to pick up from where you left off because Superman just crushed Bruce Wayne's chest, essentially, and I would assume killed him, because I don't know how you come back from that necessarily. So the nightmare sequence would have to take you into another component of it, and I don't really know how they're going to do that. And the only one way to do it is to go in through another character and sort of show us where Cyborg is at that point. So we'll see. We'll see how that plays out.
It's very interesting. One other quick thing before we talk about where Ben Affleck's Batman could possibly go from here. So at the end of BVS, Lex's The Bells, warning, we saw that, and I think it was the first look with Wonder Woman in the cave that Zack Snyder released. So we also know that that's actually going to be relevant in Zack's cut, instead of in Justice League, where they just completely ignored Lex Luthor until the end.
Correct. Well, because Zack was laying out the groundwork of a much larger universe, to sort of say, like, these are where all of these villains are, this is where certain characters are going to be, and I actually heard that there were scenes, and again, I don't know how much of this is speculation, but that there were going to be Arkham scenes that either moved Lex to Arkham Asylum, where you would get a look at Jared Leto's Joker or other characters, because for a while, Ben's script, I thought, I'd heard it described a little bit like, and I don't know which version of this script that Ben was working on, and I don't know if this is the final one that he was going to do, but that movie, The Raid? It's like a Die Hard movie where there's one cop who has to get into the bottom floor of a building and work his way all the way to the top where the boss is going to be. And so on each floor, he goes through different levels of, horrific bad guys. That they would do that, but in Arkham Asylum, which is the main prison with every Batman villain. And so Batman would have to get from, ground level to the top level, but go through all of his famous villains to get to that point. And I don't know if they're still building toward that or if that's something that they're going to tease out. So you would see some of those elements brought in where, like, Lex could be pulled into play and it could tease it. But that all of this was when Ben was going to take his movie and go in a different direction. The other thing, too, is that...
sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I thought Ben also was going to potentially be doing a movie that would involve Deathstroke, with Joe Manganiello, playing Deathstroke, but that movie could potentially also involve Jared Leto. So there were a lot of possibilities about where Ben was going to go. He just never really opened up about which version of the script he had landed on.
I know. That's how this works.
I also read something about Lex that said that Batman was supposed to go visit him in prison, and that's how he learned about the mother boxes, not through the painting on...
No, you forget also that that's how Batman found out about the mother boxes too, is that he netted that alien against the wall, and when the alien shook and blew up, it left mother boxes behind. And then poor Alfred had to come in and be like...
Matches the other sightings. And that pattern is all over Luthor's notes.
Oh, God. my God.
Terrible. So these are all horrific things that were explained poorly in theatrical cut that we're going to get legitimate explanations for with true character motivation when Snyder Cut plays on HBO Max.
All right, so our last section is that potentially in Zack Snyder's Justice League, Ben Affleck's Batman could be set up for a continued story.
Yeah, and this comes down to just the fascinating elements of, are we going to treat this as a time capsule feature that's like, hey, this is what I was doing in 2017. I'm getting a chance to finish it, but this is all that it is. In which case, you could have the hint at the suggestion of the formation of the Justice League and the Hall of Justice being at Wayne Manor, but it doesn't pay off in any sort of direction. Or we get to the point where Zack is able to set up the continuation of some of this stuff happening on HBO Max and an announcement that Ben is going to continue with a movie or a short miniseries or something that continues. And I think
there's a
rumor
that it's a series.
Like rumors.
We are not confirming anything.
Okay.
But there is a rumor that there is a limited TV series that Ben Affleck is currently in negotiations.
The only reason why I think that is unusual is that they've also announced that Gotham City detective series that is going to be tied to Matt Reeves' universe. Now, listen, can you have both? Absolutely. Like, I think fans will be able to manage that without being too confused.
Your dreams, Alfred.
I would love to see Ben continue, and I would love to see some type of tease about a direction where they are going to go with a limited series. I think HBO Max is the perfect place to do that. I think that's a great opportunity for that streaming platform to capitalize on the access that they have to these very popular DC characters, to dial fully into the passion that clearly Zack's fan base has for a continuation of the Snyderverse, and you allow other filmmakers to play with the characters in other versions, whether it's Matt Reeves' version or even letting Ben do some stuff in The Flash, but then give him an opportunity, like I said, from everything that he's been saying in interviews over the years, he has a script that he likes a lot. And
maybe they'll make his movie on HBO Max. It'll be straight to streaming.
Like, why not? I don't understand why they wouldn't do that. So I'm hopeful, and I'm hopeful that all that sort of gets teased out for the final minutes of the 4-hour Snyder Cut when it comes to HBO Max, and then we have a better sense of. But that's a huge mystery right now. It's a huge mystery of whether this is going to be a one and done, or if this is setting the stage for more in this world. We'll see. I think conversations have been had behind the scenes. Like, I think we're having a lot of fun speculating on all of this. But I'm fairly certain that the people in positions of power have an idea where they want to go with this. So we'll see. Obviously, we're going to be covering everything about Zack Snyder's Justice League as we get closer to the release on HBO Max, so make sure you keep it here on Cinema Blend. While you're here, go down and hit subscribe and turn on your notifications, because every time we post a video, we want you to come on over here and watch it.